Hi, everyone, and welcome to our presentation on Coca-Cola and corporate social responsibility. Over the next few minutes, we'll take a deep dive into how Coca-Cola defines, reports, and lives out its values. We've broken down our research into key areas to assess whether Coca-Cola truly walks the talk or if it's just smart branding. Before we dive into our presentation, here's a quick overview of what we'll be covering today. First, I'll be starting us off with an analysis of Coca-Cola's self-image. Next, Vanessa will walk us through Coca-Cola's outside rankings. Then Madison will review Coca-Cola's record in regards to government regulation. After that, Tim will examine news reports regarding Coca-Cola. Finally, our group will wrap things up with a brief professional application where each of us will share a CSR initiative we propose in our own workplaces based on what we've learned. Hi, everyone. I'm Nate Wright. I'll be covering Section A, Company Self-Image. Coca-Cola goes into great lengths to present itself as a leader in corporate social responsibility. If you visit their Sustainability Resource Center, you'll see a well-organized display of initiatives, from water conservation and reducing carbon emission to community outreach and diversity hiring practices. They clearly want to be known as more than just a beverage company. They're positioning themselves as a socially conscious global brand. But the question we're examining is, does Coca-Cola's image reflect reality, or is it just strong branding? That's what we'll unpack through their reporting practices and diversity efforts. One of the best ways to evaluate a company's CSR credibility is by looking at how they report their progress. Back in 2011, Coca-Cola first released its first sustainability report that followed the Global Reporting Initiative, or GRI, framework. This is an international standard that helps companies disclose their social and environmental impact in a transparent way. Fast forward to their latest 2022 report, and Coca-Cola is not only still following GRI, but also aligning with newer frameworks like SASB and TCFD, which look at a broader financial and climate risks. Importantly, these reports are verified by independent third parties, which adds serious weight to their claim. This level of transparency suggests Coca-Cola isn't just checking a box, they're making an effort to be held accountable. In addition to environmental sustainability, Coca-Cola also emphasizes diversity, equity, and inclusion, especially at a time when some companies are backing away from DEI commitments. A 2025 article from the Associated Press compared Coca-Cola and PepsiCo and found that Pepsi was scaling back. Coca-Cola was actually doubling down, keeping its DEI program public and well funded. The company also extends its values outside its own walls. For example, they created a Diversity Advancement Award for law firms that prioritize inclusion. The first firm to receive it was Shook, Hardy and Bacon LLP. This shows Coca-Cola's approach isn't just internal, they're using their influence to shape expectations across their broader business network. Coca-Cola has crafted a public image that centers around transparency, accountability, and inclusion. They publish detailed, standard-based sustainability reports. They invest in DEI, even when it's not popular. And they promote diversity not just inside the company, but with external partners too. While no company is perfect, Coca-Cola's self-image is backed by substantial evidence of follow-through. This gives us a solid foundation for evaluating how outside observers, like regulators and analysts, view the company's practices.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Domay, and I'm going to present part B, which is divided in 5 parts. The first part is the company listed on any outside ranking or rating list? If so, how does it rank? What can you find out about the entity that make the ranking rating? Has the company received any award or recognition for socially responsible or ethical practices regarding diversity? What can you tell us about the entities that conduct the ranking rating? What criteria do they employ? What do analysts report about the company diversity practices? Do they identify area of concern? Slide 1. Coca-Cola and ESG ranking. Coca-Cola has earned some impressive spot on ESG ranking especially through Coca-Cola HBC, their major bottling partner. They've been rated AAA by MSCI for 9 straight years. That's the highest score you can get. Mexico places them in the medium risk category, which is actually solid, especially considering the scale of the operation. And S&P Global gave them a 94 out of 100 in the beverage industry, ranking them number one. So across the board, Coca-Cola is seen as a leader in sustainability and responsible business. Slide 2. Who creates ESG ranking and how do they work? These rankings are just random. They come from respected third-party agencies. MSCI look at long-term risks in areas like climate and labor. Similarly, focus more on how much risk in a company faces and how well they manage it. And as S&P Global dig deep, combining server responsive news coverage and company disclosure to build a full picture. These aren't feel-good awards. The data-driven tool investors use to judge how responsible a company really is. Slide 3. Coca-Cola Diversity Award. When it comes to diversity, Coca-Cola has definitely made a name for itself. They've received national and international recognition from awards like the Diversity Champion, honored to UN Women's Workplace Equality Award in Vietnam. Even their legal department was honored for advancing diversity. What's cool is that these awards reflect real programs, like mentoring women entrepreneurs and supporting underrepresented groups, not just surface level PR. Slide number 4. How ESG ranking works. Each agency has its own method, but they all looking at the same big picture. How well a company handles social and environmental responsibilities. MSCI look at specific risks based on the company industry, like climate change for beverage companies. Subnetical combine risk exposure with how well a company responds. S&P uses a long questionnaire plus outside data to assess performance. So it's not just about being green, it's about how the company treat people, handle crisis, and prepare for the future.
Coca-Cola's relationship with government regulatory agencies has evolved over time. In 2000, the company faced a major challenge with the EEOC when settled a $192.5 million radical discrimination lawsuit. This led to significant reforms in its diversity policies. Since then, Coke has made strides of publishing annual DE&I reports and setting clear diversity goals. The FTC side, while there haven't been major changes, Coca-Cola faced scrutiny over health-related advertising. In replace, it has improved product labeling, reformulated several beverages, and promoted smaller portions. On the FTC side, Coca-Cola hasn't faced any major recent penalties, but it was drawn criticism in the past for how it marketed sugary products, especially around health claims. In response, the company has taken many steps from a government lens to address these concerns by improving transparency in its labeling, reformulating some of its products, and encouraging smaller portion size. Coca-Cola has a long-standing collaboration with government agencies and international organizations to align its practices with evolving standards. On the environmental front, the company recently revised its sustainability goals. And reported by CNN in 2024, they were working closely with the government and NGOs. These efforts include commitment to using 100% recyclable packaging, reducing water usage, and lowering its overall climate impact. Coca-Cola has also engaged with regulators in various countries to help build out waste management systems and recycling education. In terms of health and nutrition, Coca-Cola works alongside public health agencies to comply with sugary and calorie labeling requirements, especially in areas facing with rising obesity rates. These collaborations not only ensure compliance, but also position Coca-Cola as a stakeholder in policy discussions related to public health. As a result, the company has reformulated some of its product and taken a transparent approach around nutrition labeling. In conclusion, Coca-Cola's earlier struggles, particularly around civil rights, has pushed the company to make several internal changes. Since then, it's worked to strengthen its relationship with government regulators, focusing on transparency, sustainability, and public health. Although challenges remain, Coca-Cola now takes a more accountable and cooperative approach to meeting regulatory expectations.
So has Coke been in the news for any negative spotlight on the diversity and sustainability initiatives? The short answer is yes. They've been sued by two separate groups for allegations of greenwashing. First, by an environmental watchdog group that alleges that Coca-Cola's sustainability claims are misleading, and the fact that they are one of the world's largest plastic producers kind of negates any positive benefits they may be trying to sell by saying that they're eco-friendly and recycling. And then Los Angeles County sued, saying that Coca-Cola's claim that their products are easily recyclable is misleading, because according to them, single-use plastics aren't easily broken down in the environment, and there's also a lot of environmental impact involved in recycling single-use plastic. So the first suit has been held by a judge to be able to go forward, and then the second suit is still pending. And then there was another lawsuit on behalf of a consumer advocacy group relating to Coca-Cola's claims about being a healthy beverage. They were alleging that Coke's marketing was misleading consumers because they were saying that because it had a lower amount of calories or even 0 calories, that it was a healthy alternative. And they were saying this was misleading because sugary drinks such as Coca-Cola have been found to be harmful to consumers and have a link to obesity. And they also alleged that Coca-Cola was downplaying the link between sugary drinks and obesity. And this case was dismissed by the plaintiffs in 2021. So this is not currently going forward. And then while not a lawsuit, Coca-Cola was warning that the changing atmosphere in DE&I can have a lot of impacts on their company, and they'll still stand by their DE&I goals, even in the face of the shifting atmosphere. But they also mentioned due to their status as a federal contractor, they will ultimately comply with any rules relating to withdrawing or changing their DE&I program. So have they been involved in any lawsuits relating to diversity? Yes. Coca-Cola was sued by a group of African-American employees that were alleging that their hiring practices and any sort of internal structure resulted in pay gaps and a lack of advancement for this group. So they actually won, and Coca-Cola settled for $192 million and was forced to implement changes by a court. And then Coca-Cola's investors are threatening legal action against the company over their diversity practices. They are alleging that the requirement to hire a certain percentage of legal representation from a minority community violates the Civil Rights Act and the Americans with Disability Act, and it exposes Coca-Cola investors to unwanted material liability. So they're saying that through these actions, Coca-Cola is breaching their fiduciary responsibility. So is there any evidence of mismanagement from Coca-Cola? Yes. So Coca-Cola was sued by a group of employees for mismanagement of their 401k plans in violation of ERISA. So Coca-Cola settled for this group for $3.5 million. And then a Coca-Cola manager in England admitted to taking bribes in order to help certain companies win contracts, and he would take a skim off the top, and he used also shell companies to get lucrative sponsorship deals. So he was given a 20-month suspended sentence and had to pay fines, and his collaborators at all his shell companies and partners also received similar sentences.
I work in the security industry, specifically in the manufacturing and installation of security systems. Over the past few years, our industry has made meaningful progress in addressing diversity, particularly in the terms of race and gender. However, there's still more work to be done, especially when it comes to creating access for underserved communities. I believe we need to place a greater emphasis on providing educational and employment opportunities for young adults who are approaching high school graduation, especially those who may not see college as a viable path. While this could certainly be championed within my current organization, I'm also a proud member of ASIS International, which is a global membership organization for security professionals with local chapters across the country. Through ASIS, I'd like to propose a new initiative, a paid summer internship program designed to offer hands-on exposure to careers in the physical security industry. This program wouldn't be limited to technician roles as well. It would include opportunities in engineering, sales, operation, and leadership development, which give students a broader understanding of what a future in this field could look like. Ideally, each student will be paired with a mentor from ASIS community to help them guide them through this experience. The program would run for 6 to 8 weeks and conclude with a student-led project or presentation, providing them with a platform to showcase what they've learned. To evaluate its effectiveness, we would track participation, collect feedback from students and mentors, and follow students' career paths over time. This initiative doesn't just serve the students, but it also helps build a more inclusive, skilled, and future-ready workforce for the entire security community.
Now, this really made me think a lot about my current role. Coca-Cola's diversity journey really started after that big lawsuit in 2000. They took a hard look at their workforce practices and really had to set measurable diversity goals. I am an HR professional, so as an HR professional, this reminds me that DE&I cannot just be an idea, but it has to be a strategy. For example, we can do this by creating diverse hiring panels, tracking representation at every level, and regularly reporting on our DE&I progress, not just internally, but also externally to potential candidates. It's also about tying metrics back to leadership. If Coca-Cola can transform after this major challenge and be proactive about building equity, we can do that in my role as well. Being in talent acquisition, this goes beyond just the job description. Candidates today, especially younger generations, really care deeply about the values a company that they work for. So it's on the company to make sure that the employer brand reflects the company's mission and social impact. Whether it's sustainability, volunteering, or DE&I initiatives, we need to clearly communicate this throughout the hiring process. It's not only to attract top talent, but also helps us attract the right talent who aligns with our culture and values. Um, Another approach was Coca-Cola's approach to compliance and ethics. It's something we can all learn of. They don't just rely on policies, but they really embed the ethics in the fabrics of their culture through training, standards, and systems feedback. In HR, it's really crucial to go beyond the check the box compliance. We need to create spaces where employees feel safe to raise concerns, and we also need to be able to train our leaders to respond in a way that we know they're going to reinforce this trust and accountability. In my role, this might look like regular ethics workshops, anonymous feedback tools, or even making sure our onboarding reflects the ethical experience that we want from day one from our associates. In conclusion, to kind of wrap up Coca-Cola's journey, it shows us that transformation is possible when you take bold and measurable steps. As an HR professional, we have the power to drive that change, whether it's through inclusive hiring, value-driven messaging, or a culture grounded in ethics. These aren't just business strategies, but human strategies. And they remind us that our work in HR shapes not only the workforce, but also the entire organization and the people that use our products. I work for PVH Corp. We own Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger. So from this lens, even if we don't hire someone, they could be a consumer of our product. Same with Coca-Cola. So I think Coca-Cola did a great job of turning that government shift around, and I'm happy that.
So for my professional application of corporate social responsibility, I wanted to apply social entrepreneurship. So to focus, I want to utilize the framework of social entrepreneurship to give at-risk and underrepresented entry-level employees from a lot of different minority communities a foot in the door at a lot of big IT clients and upskill them in an in-demand technology. We partner at my current organization with at-risk youth to give them exposure to IT, and then separately we train people in in-demand technologies at sort of really prestigious clients to get a foot in the door, but the two haven't married yet. So I'm proposing that through the lens of social entrepreneurship, we combine these two programs. So in terms of the structure, it would be a boot camp style program, and where applicants who've been selected, they will learn and be assessed on an in-demand, high-earning IT skill, for example, mainframe programming, and then they're tested and quizzed and assessed in a real-world environment. And after graduation, if they successfully pass, they'll be placed to clients who need these skills, and they'll have the opportunity to transition into a full-time role and benefit the corporation. So in addition to offering kind of our existing models, we want to market this as sort of something that can help companies get more diverse employees or help them contribute to at-risk communities. We want people to say, like, by participating in this program, you'll be giving back to at-risk youth and also helping to upskill your current talent. And then to assess the success of the program, we'll track applicant backgrounds, program graduation rates, placement at clients, and then employee and client satisfaction ratings to determine how effective and impactful the program is.